Mic check. Mic check. Alright, I guess we're good, pony girl. Oh man, am I exhausted. Seems like my sinuses are drying up a bit, so I should stop clearing my throat within the next 10-15 minutes. Joyous joy. The calm before the storm. T-minus whenever it feels right. Alright. So let's talk about buttered sausage. What it is, what it's doing. Why is it doing what it's doing? Where do I want to start off here? I'm trying to truncate a decade's worth of study in 20 minutes. There's no way you're going to understand all of what I'm about ready to tell you. Alright. Harran is a fictional place in Turkey, okay? That's where Dying Light 1 started. Harran, fictional place, Turkey. They chose Turkey for a reason. Göbekli Tepe is a 12,000-year-old site where they had some kind of skull cult there. They literally found all kinds of remains. The animal remains there too. They sacrificed animals there, all kinds of stuff. It's called Göbekli Tepe means belly hill, and that means what, belly like stomach. The reason they call it belly hill is because it's the female deity they're worshiping, the divine feminine they're worshiping there. The embodiment, the idols that they carved and stuff were a fat lady. That like the motherly figure. All right, the female deity that's bringing you along to the male deity, and you'll even see this in chematology in Egypt. Chematology means Kemet means the black land. So I mean, this all ties into the same thing, and the origins of it is argued and hotly debated. Now, from Turkey, if you just move to the east of Turkey, you're going to run right into Mesopotamia. As a matter of fact, the Assyrian Empire is right there. In like where Göbekli Tepe was found, like 12,000-year-old site, Göbekli Tepe. That's where it was found, was damn near in Assyria. So, and then you run the Tigris and the Euphrates farther east, and it runs right into Babylon, where Iraq is. So basically, from east to west, you got Iraq, Iran, and then you got Syria and Turkey to the west. So, I mean, literally, you run a straight line there. And I talked about before about how the out of Africa hypothesis, where they said that the mitochondrial Eve was a black woman, and it was the out of Africa hypothesis that supports evolution, which is absolute and total bullshit. Around the Caspian and the Black Sea, they found these things, and they call them Cro-Magnon, okay? They were nocturnal hunting humans. I mean, some people would even say humanoid. They were cannibals. Black Sea, Caspian Sea, Turkey, the area we're talking about right here, okay? Göbekli Tepe had what they called a skull cult there, and they're just recently, over the last decade, letting this information out, and they're actually German archaeologists and shit there. German. Think fifth root race, Aryan, Nazi Germany. Because they've got the handle. It's Germans telling you about that, so they're going to piecemeal the information out, and they're going to make sure that you're only going to hear in academia what they want you to hear about that site. And anyways, they're just now letting out, like, they'd even carved those skulls. And some people had postulated that the lines that they carved in the skulls were just like thread marks or like wire marks, where they would wire the lower jaw in for the skull to be complete. But that's complete and utter nonsense, because the skulls are fragmented too. One thing they don't believe is that it was just human sacrifice. I mean, there's something to it. They even found part of those skull fragments and stuff were painted and stuff. They were carved into. They were painted. It's very weird. And we're not going to get the whole story. There's a circular, like, place there that was like a killing ground. in Göbekli Tepe, where they were probably likely sacrificing human beings, along with animals too. Okay, now think Haran, Turkey. Okay, they used to call modern day Turkey used to be called ancient Lydia, or I think I've heard some people pronounce it Lydia, but it's spelled Lydia just like the Lydia in this game that's in that cave. That's part of the infected that are still alive that are eating those mushrooms. And then you have Sven, who's the young boy. His name means young boy. You have Lydia, which means noble woman. She's obviously the embodiment of the Triquetra triple goddess that Göbekli Tepe is promoting. The female deity that leads you to the male deity. Okay? Think like Isis. Oh, first you have Osiris and Isis. They have a kid who's Horus. Osiris is dead, and this is even in like pyramid tablets and stuff where they talk about how they even say that they felt like Set. That the storyline is that Set killed Osiris. Isis impregnates herself miraculously with the 14th missing piece of Osiris, which is his penis. It's a phallus. It's a dildo. It's supposed to be a golden dildo, and that's how Horus is born. So Horus is this immaculate conception, so to speak. Okay? The 14th missing piece of Osiris. And this goes back, and people who tie this into religion and theology say, well, they think that Set was Seth of the Hebrew Bible, and that that Nimrod is Osiris, okay? Seth is the one that killed Nimrod, Osiris, in the Bible, and he cut him into 14 pieces and sent the 14 pieces out to all the other kings in the Mesopotamian area, letting them know, hey, no matter what you hear, Osiris is dead, I'm the one who killed him, and here's the piece to prove it. I'm literally mailing you a piece of him. That's from yours truly. He was letting them all know. Whoever killed Osiris, if the legend is true, was letting everybody in Mesopotamia know, I'm the head honcho of this place. You mess with me, you're going to end up in a box too. That was the whole point of all that. And anyways, they're all brokenhearted, and in the Bible you read about weeping for Tammuz and Ezekiel, and Tammuz is Horus. That's just another name by Horus, and what they are is they're celebrating Easter Ishtar. They're weeping for Tammuz, they're weeping for Horus because he died, because her son, and no one, and this doesn't necessarily mean that he was an immaculate conception. She could have got pregnant anyway, so let's just say that, she had sex with one of her slaves or whatever, and she produces Horus. Tammuz was killed. He was gored by a boar, a wild boar, a pig. That is why you eat ham on Easter Ishtar. And they tell you it's Resurrection Day, and Easter is right around Passover, and all of that. And it's all nonsense, people. It's all nonsense. I mean, obviously Passover is real. From a biblical standpoint, I believe the Bible, Passover, all that. The miracles that happened when Moses, when Moses led them out of Egyptian captivity, there's steles and stuff. I can't remember the name of the stele, but this is documented in Egyptian history. It really happened. It really happened. Some people even try to argue, well, he didn't cross over, the Red Sea. It was the Reed Sea, and it was just a puddle they walked over. Well, they can debate that all they want. It don't matter. The stele's written. That happened. That happened. Moses absolutely led the Hebrew slaves out of Egypt. That 100% happened. It's documented by the Egyptians. End of story. Anyways, we're moving on from that. This female deity that leads you to knowledge, what it is, it's actually, in Egyptian culture, they call her Sekhmet. She's a lioness, okay? She got so infuriated with mankind that they wouldn't listen to her. They rejected her divine wisdom as she's leading them to the divine male deity, which is Ra, Osiris. She got so upset that she started murdering males that rejected her divine knowledge and drinking their blood, and she was satiated with it. She wouldn't. That's the only thing that would satiate her. She had to kill men and drink their blood. And this is also where blood drinking and sacrifice and eating flesh and stuff, we're playing a zombie game, okay? We're playing a zombie game here. This is what this is about, okay? Anyways, the only way they could get her to stop killing off mankind was to get a mandrake root and make mandrake root wine out of it. They made mandrake wine, and she said, okay, I'll drink this mandrake wine and I'll stop killing these idiots off. That's the legend. That's how the legend goes. And that divine knowledge, there's always the snake involved, and we're talking about the Nakash of Genesis in the Bible. Genesis chapter 3, you've heard him called the serpent. And it's widely debated whether or not the serpent was actually male or female. I mean, even Hebrew scholars say, well, hold on a minute here. There's a lot of Hebrew scholars that believe that the Nakash, the serpent of the Bible, was actually a shiny serpentine type being that was a female that led Eve astray. And obviously, like the quince liqueur that we covered, the recipe in this video game, that quince, that's called the Pyre of Sidonia, Pyre, P-Y-R-E, and it's like pyramid, think fire, okay? That's the fruit of the Garden of Eden. That's the fruit that the Nakash tempted Eve to eat. That was the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, okay? And what happens when Eve eats this quince, this Pyre of Sidonia, Mars? Marius Fisher, the Baron in this video game. Marius Fisher. Marius is a derivative of Mars. Mars Fisher. His title is the Baron, the noble authority from Mars. He's a fisher. That literally means like a fisherman, like fishing for something. He's fishing for the DNA of the lost race from Mars, and there's cult societies that believe this, that thousands of years ago, that there was another root race that lived on Mars. Mars, whatever reason, there was a catastrophe, and it's called catastrophist theology, and they believe that, like Worlds in Collision, Velikovsky's book. Worlds in Collision means that there was an asteroid blew in, bam, hit everything, and obviously there's potholes all over Mars and the moon. So nobody can debate that at all. We've never seen anything hit the moon, yet there's potholes all over it. It's been hit with something. So that's what Worlds in Collision is about. The Velikovsky book is about this theory that it's called catastrophism. Anyways, a catastrophe hits Mars. The survivors of Mars come to Earth and integrate with the humanoids down here, that our DNA was close enough that thousands of years ago, the humanoids from Mars could integrate into our society and our bloodline, okay? That's the story. There's cult societies that believe this. The Theosophist movement, many of the Theosophists believe this, that fifth root race Aryanism, that humans are not only evolving physically, they're evolving spiritually. They're gonna have their third eye open. They're gonna have telepathy, just like these infected in that cave in there. That's a witch coven, people, in that cave that's going on in here. They're spiritists. Benjamin, the Star Child, which is another name for Osiris, they're telling you that's who he represents when he says his name, Star Child. He's a shaman. It's ritualistic witchcraft that derives from. It started in Göbekli Tepe, is what they think, but I mean it started all over Mesopotamia. And I'm going to end up getting lost here because I don't want to get lost in talking about Druids, but Google Druids. That's where this witchcraft, that's what it culminated into when it went into Great Britain and stuff. Because all of this was carried throughout the Fertile Crescent of Mesopotamia is where all this started, around that area. It went a little bit to the east or a little bit to the west, right into Turkey, and Göbekli Tepe was built, okay? And they talk about how, and this also, Noah's flood, the great deluge, okay? Atlanteans were the fourth root race. They were directly mingled with these Martians, so these Theosophists think, these humanoids that came from Mars, that escaped the Mars catastrophe and came to Earth. They integrated their bloodline into mankind, and that's what we know today as the myth of Atlanteans. And this is even in Hindu and Vedic texts and stuff. They talk about how there was this super group of humanoids that their sin was pride. They were super intelligent. They flew Vimanas, Vimana, Google Vimana. They had spaceships and shit, okay? They were taller than your average human, 7 to 15 feet tall, if not taller. They got prideful, okay? This is literally the same story as Atlantis. They got prideful and started making chimeras. What's Fisher making in this video game? He's making chimeras. They started mixing DNA to see what they could build. And in their pride, the head honcho, the God of the Hebrew Bible, destroyed them. That's what happened during Noah's flood. That's why the Greeks and the Romans all believed in those titans. The War of the Titans is literally a curse. It's in the book of Enoch where God cursed the Watchers. It's in Genesis chapter 6. When the Watchers came down and integrated with mankind, okay, they had sex with the daughters of mankind and produced their own men of renown. They called them the Nephilim. It's recorded all throughout history is my point. I'm literally covering the Hebrew Bible. I'm covering the Greco-Roman theology on this. You can't argue it, okay? They all taught this. It's not just a myth because there's actual evidence of it. Like, I mean, you can, there's giant humans, skeletons and stuff they found all over the world. And that'll all come out in the near future. But anyways, it's so easy to get bogged down in this. I always get lost down a rabbit trail and forget my original train of thought when we're talking about this, okay? This video game is telling you the story, the folk story, the lore of mankind, and this cult society that believe they have a divine bloodline that likely came from Mars. Like, you can Google the face on Mars. In 1976, the Viking, whatever it was, satellite, what was that, a satellite? I know it came from the Viking in 76 when they took those pictures. I think it was a satellite that orbited Mars for a while there. And anyways, they captured the face on Mars. They got the it looks like the Pentagon shape. It's like a pentagon shape, like the Pentagon, Washington D.C. The Pentagon. There's a reason why it's there. Mars, the god of war. Mars means chaos. Go to the Giza Plateau, not to get lost on the rabbit hole. Go to the Giza Plateau. Cairo, Egypt. Cairo means Mars. Mars means destruction. So naturally, our War Department, with the cult theosophists in the United States, like Henry Ford, for instance, that financed Hitler, who wanted to bring about the Aryan race. They say they're blonde-haired and blue-eyed, and they're trying to consolidate that genetic code, and then by doing that, we'll have spiritual evolution combined with physical evolution, and by 2200 or 2300 AD, we'll have third eye opened, fifth root race Aryans on Earth who have telepathy and telekinesis. This game is telling you that story. We picked up 3 recipes. Steak tartare, that's bloody steak. Blood sausage, that's sausage with blood that's by and large uncooked. They're eating blood, and it talked about how the Polish, would eat this blood sausage before they went into battle because it made their warriors stronger and more vicious, okay? The quince liqueur that the one chick made a recipe for, she's literally making an alcoholic beverage out of quince. It's like an apple. It's gold colored. It's a gold colored apple, and there's a lot of very intelligent people who think that's where like the alchemist theology comes from, turning lead into gold and blah blah blah, that's all like symbology for that golden quince. And the reason why people value gold is because it's the same color as that quince, and you're literally trading your life for it. Because when you ate from the garden of the knowledge of good and evil, when you ate from the tree in the Garden of Eden, from the knowledge of good and evil, you traded your life for that shit. You're gonna die for that knowledge. Okay, so since you're on a time limit now, if you go and you work for gold, you're trading your time for that buying power. So even like 200 years ago, they had it set into law that if you robbed a man of gold, that it was considered like a murder charge, because you were literally stealing what he traded his life on earth for, because everybody's finite. I mean, that's how lost down in the symbology of it and stuff that you can get. And that's why I'm saying it takes over a decade of research to explain what this video game has in it. But once you've seen it, now that your eyes are open to it, you'll understand what's going on in the video game. That's why everybody in that cave has blue eyes. They're the ones transitioning, and it's always duality, okay? So Marius Fisher is a bad guy, all right? He's the Class A prick bad guy. In duality, there's always good and bad, but something good is coming from the bad. You go to the cave, the fifth root race Aryans are literally evolving from he's doing something bad, but then we've got this good happening over here. That's called duality. You can't have one without the other. It's just like Albert Pike said in Morals and Dogma or whatever, the Freemason. And he was talking about how whether he liked it or not, and I'm paraphrasing, whether he liked it or not, that Satan also had to be Adonai, the God of the Hebrew Bible, because whether he liked it or not, there was a force of good on the earth that he could not conquer using Luciferianism. That no matter what, he could not get an edge. He could not get a foothold on the Christians and the Hebrews like he wanted to, because there was a force that was fighting him. That's what he was saying. So they just chalk that up to duality. So yeah, it involved when you trace it back to it, and I want to finish my thought on Atlantis too as well. Atlantis were fourth root race. Just Google root race theory, and this goes right along with Hinduism. That a fish decided it was going to get up, walk out of the water. I mean, they love using evolution because then they can say that there's no supreme being, there's no all-knowing God. Just take him out of the picture. Because that way they can say or do whatever they want. You become your own God that way. And that's a symbology like you see the Freemasons wearing an apron. When Adam and Eve ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, they knew they were naked, and they covered themselves with fig leaves. That apron, the Bible literally says apron, it's translated apron. They covered themselves with apron. Now, when God shows up, and starts questioning Adam about what happened there and stuff, he ends up slaughtering an animal who's widely believed was a deer, and he covered them with deer skins. And that's the way of letting a human being know that blood is going to be the price you pay for this. If not, you sacrificing, like the Hebrews eventually had to sacrifice so they would learn the law. What the law did was show man that he had a sin nature. That's what that was all about. And that's why when Jesus Christ came to the earth, that people get confused about this. Jesus Christ says he came to fulfill the law. That was to let them know he was going to be the final sacrifice. There's a new way now. He's the new way. You don't have to sacrifice anymore because the law has been clearly established through the Hebrew people. He's already proven to mankind that their sin was there. With, I think it was 614 laws in Leviticus and Exodus. Anyways, not to get bogged down into that though, but that's why without, the Bible says, without the letting of blood, there is no remission for sin, or something about that. Without spilling blood, there's no remission for sin. That's what they're saying. It's going to cost you blood. You've went this far. You've done this bad thing. You're going to pay for it now, and it's going to cost you blood. But there's good news. It don't have to be your blood anymore. So once they established the law, the blood covenant came. And that's what all of it is. And you even see this in cult theology. Luciferians and Satanists believe the same thing. They just don't choose the same Christ figure. So you have their pseudo-Christ, which is the fake Christ of Christianity, but they believe he's the real Christ. And then you have Jesus Christ over here. And you're literally, no matter what any human being does, there's only two spirits that operate in this world, and you're going to serve one of them. It's going to be the pseudo-Christ, or it's going to be the real Christ. And not making a decision is making a decision, because if you don't choose the side of good, your default, there's no neutrality. Your default by bad. You're going to go the wrong way because of your sin nature. There's no way around it. You're not going to evolve out of your sin nature. That's the whole point of all of it. That's the whole point of everything that's going on planet Earth right now. But anyways, I wanted to establish that because the cult theology goes way back, and also like the Hittite kingdom was in Greater Turkey. And then after Christianity, after Jesus Christ died on the cross, Christianity, a bunch of those churches, like Sardis was even the capital of Turkey, people. And that's one of the churches that grew almost immediately as soon as the gospel started going to the Gentiles. And so I got to peel a layer off here. I'm burning up. When the Jews rejected the gospel of Jesus Christ, and they had the Romans kill Jesus Christ, and they said he was a blasphemer, okay? The gospel moved on from there. That's when Paul and everybody argues about Paul's writings in the Bible and stuff. That's when the gospel went to the Gentiles. Well, when the gospel went to the Gentiles, there was 7 big major churches that were founded through Paul's ministry, okay? That Paul started it, and then the disciples finished it out that were left on earth for that time. Sardis was one of the churches. It was, let me see if I can... Sardis was one. There were 7 of them. There was Thyatira, Pergamos. I won't be able to remember them right now. Philadelphia, Ephesus, Thyatira, Pergamon, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea. But I'm missing one. There's one I'm missing there. Ephesus, Thyatira, Pergamum. You can look it up, man. It's in Revelation, chapter 3, chapter 4. There's 7 of them. Anyway, Sardis was like the capital of Turkey. So, I mean, that religion ended up inevitably conquering Turkey, where we just found the oldest female deity worship. And that female deity this is exactly why a lot of Hebrew scholars believe that the Nakash might have been, the serpent of the garden might have been a female. And you have this kind of iconography also in Egypt where with that cobra, Wadjet, that cobra on that headdress that those Egyptian pharaohs wore. A gold cobra, a shiny serpent being. So, I mean, there's reason for them to believe that may be. And the reasoning for that is the adversary of mankind, the Satan, which Satan just means the adversary, Hasatan. Him being the adversary didn't have power in the 3D earth realm like he wanted, so he had to use another being. The Nakash wielded more power. She could come here and tempt Eve, and he couldn't do that, is what some Hebrews believe. That's why he decided to use the serpent being instead of actually doing it himself, but he wanted to challenge mankind. It's just like the book of Job, which people by and large say that's the oldest book of the Bible. Job was tempted. I mean, that's what that's about. That's the first book that was written. How Job was tempted by Satan. Satan said this, man, skin for skin, a man will give all he has for his own life, to save his own life. That's what he said. You only understand mortal things. You're not immortal. You don't understand spiritual things. That's what he accused him of. That he would never choose God. He would choose himself. He would choose saving his own flesh over spiritual knowledge. Anyways, this game is loaded with the iconography and the symbology of that religion. And nobody's going to tell you about this religion. They're not going to tell you that it was in the Vedas. They're not going to tell you about root race theory, about 4th root race Atlanteans reincarnating and helping us up to our 5th root race Aryan, which is the next stage we're going to reach in a couple hundred years, along with spiritual evolution combined with physical evolution. And of course, you have transhumanism coming on the picture now, or coming on the scene now, and that's a big picture of it too, because they say that with our spiritual enlightenment, of course, that we would integrate ourselves with our own technology and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's big too. And, and the genetic mixing and mingling that's going on right now, God only knows what these governments have in their underground bunkers. I mean, God only knows. I mean, the first sheep, I think her name was Dolly, like back in 1990 or something. They cloned a sheep 40 fucking years ago, people. You know. If you're not a complete bumbling idiot, you have obviously deduced that they've cloned human beings. In over 40 years, you better believe they have. 100%. There's cloned human beings probably walking around in society, for God's sake. I don't have any trouble at all believing that, because I know whatever mankind will do, whatever they can do, they absolutely 100% will do. We've proven that time and time again. We'll go to war at a drop of a hat. I mean, it is, hell, it's like, fuck it, I don't care. You want to go to war over a piece of sausage? Fuck it. That's what they do it all the time. We're about ready, the United States is about ready to go to war with Iran. And that's going to set off World War III, but that's a completely different story for another time. I've just about talked myself hoarse. But just like in the following, the mother, right? You know, in Catholic religion, the Mother Mary, the Virgin Mary, turned into the deity that leads you to the male deity, to where she's even, they say, oh, we don't worship Mary, we venerate her. If you pray to Mary to forgive your sins, you're worshiping her. When you pray the rosary in Catholic religion, that came from Hindus. Those prayer beads are Hindu prayer beads, people. Google it. You say, oh, Jason, you're full of shit? Google it. That's him. You got Hindu prayer beads, and when you're praying your rosary, you're praying Hindu prayer beads in rapid repetition. And the only difference is they put a cross on the end of it, so you feel good about it. You know, okay, you're a Christian, you believe in Jesus. Okay, well, here's some Hindu prayer beads, but don't pray to Jesus. Pray to the female deity, because she's the one that's going to lead you to the male deity, the pseudo Christ. And having said that, let me see, hold on a second. World in Collision by Velikovsky. If you can get that book and read it, if you're interested in it, I suggest you do. I suggest you do get that book and read it. Also, there was a couple other books that I just wanted to... where, if I can find them here. Okay, like Ancient Aliens of India, Reptilians, Giants, and the Origins of Atlantis by Xaviant Hayes. Zaviant Hayes, Haze. Ancient Aliens of India. Think Hindu, Buddhism, Brahmism. Ancient, and it shows like an ancient deity riding on a Vimana, a UFO spacecraft. Ancient Aliens of India, Reptilians, Giants, and the Origins of Atlantis. So we got a Hindu person here writing, or someone that's going to tie them together. And I haven't read that book, but I wanted to let you know that it's readily available, that if you talk to the right person or you know the right book, you can research this and see that I'm not some crackpot that made this shit up. That when they're talking about blood sausage in this book, and Marius Fisher is the one mingling with the DNA, making a chimera, you're talking about something that's the story is old. So we're talking, I mean, thousands of years old. We're talking about somebody like the designers at Techland here, when they made this story, and they made Dying Light Part 1. It was in Haran, Turkey. Then when they made Dying Light the following, the DLC, it was about the cult of the mother and all of this stuff. It was just rehashed, and it's in the following. The cultism, the symbology is there, and then following too. Okay, then they made Dying Light 2. Then they made, this was supposed to be Dying Light the Beast, was supposed to be the DLC to Dying Light. So they're letting this person who's educated in this cult religion and theology tell these stories, and it's pretty masterfully written. I mean, they did a good job. Not only is their coding and their game design good, they're highly intelligent people that are writing this. Anyways, having said that, we'll move on, because I'm going to talk myself hoarse. I hope you could make sense out of what I just said, at least a little bit. At least I
get the signal relays and decoding devices on top of those towers. We can now listen to everything the Baron's people are saying.
At least I pointed you in the right direction. You can take some keywords, and I download this to my YouTube, so you can go and watch the YouTube video. This is Part 9, Dying Light the Beast Part 9. You can go and watch the YouTube, and you can listen, keywords. You can type in, get your computer ready, and you can type in the keywords, and you can search all the things I mentioned, and you can see. And I would suggest anybody start with Theosophy. I would start with Theosophy, and I would start with Helena Blavatsky's beliefs, and maybe her books. You just get the Cliffs Notes on her books. I don't know. If you're really going to garner much out of reading them, you can read them if you want to. But when it comes to what they believed, you might not be getting the whole story, because you're talking about spiritists who believe that they could channel spirits and stuff, and they would have, like the Book of Orantia, it's called, Orantia, I believe it's spelled. That was supposed to be a channeled book from an intergalactic space brother that they wrote down to tell mankind what was going to happen in history. And it's all inclusive. They love talking about space brother Jesus, right? And how Jesus Christ is part of the Galactic Federation, you know. It's all in there, and he was a being that came down here to enlighten you, and he was like a Buddha and all that. That's what they say. Anyways, you can just Google Helena Blavatsky, Annie Besant, or Alice Bailey, and you'll see the Theosophist religion that I was talking about that covers all this. That I think you could get a pretty sound foundational grounding on what I'm talking about if you familiarize yourself with Theosophist belief and how they believed in the fifth root race Aryanism, which is what Hitler was chasing after.
At least save him.
I mean, these people right here, I mean, the blue eyes is a dead giveaway.
Thing keeping us together.
In the theology of this game, they're the ones in the duality that are going to ascend out of this into fifth root race Aryans. This is going to be the predecessors to the Aryans. Well, I may as well buy it. Looks like that might be an oxidizer. Anyways, yeah, it'd take like a decade to do the research to where you're well versed in it, and to be quite honest enough, I'm not well versed enough in it. There's going to be some of it that I miss, and obviously it takes a lot of time to put all the pieces together and realize how Egypt is linked to everything you know in history is linked to everything I just said, from the Bible to the Greco-Roman theology, all of it, every bit of it. All right, let's see what we want to do. We'll do it. We'll do it. Heard from Starchild again. That's Benjamin. That's the shaman. Sounds like something's off with his telepathy this time. Let's go see him and find out more. So we're going to go talk to him. But yeah, you can see this game's inundated with the cult society stuff that, you know, the commoner's not supposed to know about this. You're considered profane to them, okay? You don't mix the holy with the profane. For them to even discuss this, what I'm doing right now is sacrilege. Me discussing this with you at all, to them, they would say it's sacrilege. I'm absolutely, I mean, if I had any cult ties or anything, they talk about cutting your tongue out and murdering you and all that. I mean, those people committed to that and made blood oaths that their life, if they ever discussed the shit that I just said, that their life would be the price they would pay in Freemasonry and shit like that. But I don't have any ties to them, okay? I didn't learn from them. I don't owe them a damn thing. They can get pissed off about it all they want. I didn't make a blood oath to anybody. But if you did and you talk that stuff without, I mean, and sometimes they'll let you know, like it could be like a brooch that they wear or a certain tie, or they'll even mispronounce a word when they say it, and that'll go through all the blood brothers at the lodge and stuff. Okay, this person's going to come out and say this, and when they start talking about stuff that we want to let out now, they'll mispronounce this particular word, or they'll be wearing this pin on their tie. That guy's okay, don't attack him. That's just so the Brotherhood knows and understands that guy's allowed. They decided to allow him to talk about that to fit their specific purpose at that time. They want that information out for a specific reason. There's all kinds of tells, hand signs, you name it. When somebody mispronounces a word, pay extra special attention if you hear it pronounced a certain way. That's a big one. That's the easiest way to do it, is to use a mispronounced word. And I'm not going to name the pastor's name, but a pastor, I heard him talking about Semiramis and Tammuz, and he mispronounced Tammuz like Tammuz, and he called Semiramis Semiramis. And I'm pretty sure that was his way of letting, you know, the brothers of the feather, the birds of the feather, the brothers know that he was allowed to talk about that in that church setting. I don't know if they're going to see me or not, but I better make sure I've got my act together here. Okay, we do have that.
Target in sight.
Get him. We'll dispatch the zombie. Maybe a camouflage will actually give me a little bit of benefit. I want to see what's going on over here. I'll take a look, sure. I'm a sucker for good loot, man. I'm a sucker for good loot. Let's go ahead and camo back up. I don't think it's going to make much difference when I get over here, though. I don't know if we're going to be able to... They're not shooting, so as long as I don't get a zombie on me. Uh-oh. Just go back to sleep, stupid. You didn't see nothing. I'm not sure which one almost saw him. Okay, he's walking over here now. That might be trouble.